Okay, welcome to the TCP Building Design Committee meeting. Just a few words before we start. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities are currently open on a limited basis to the public, which has since been changed to open to the public by appointment only. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be recorded and be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link that was provided in the agenda. From a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter webinar ID 880-2550-4304 and then the pound sign. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. I will now call the roll. Dave Passios.
Here.
Brian Leighton.
Here.
And the other Dave.
Here, present. Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Sorry, guys, about that Monday.
That's all right. I am not expecting Michael Ray. He said he was not likely to be able to attend. I haven't heard from Matt Allison, but we'll proceed anyway. There's another meeting using this same account, Zoom account, starting at 10 minutes to 7. So it is possible that we will get cut off then. Neil, our Zoom coordinator, was not certain how that was going to happen. So I told him we were going to endeavor to finish up by 6:45. But I just bring that up. I just wanted to pass that information on.
Thank
So
you. Lots of plowing still to go, so thank you.
So with that, I will open it up for any public comment from the public. And I see none. So I will move on to any public comments from the committee members. Okay, again, seeing none. I will move on to a committee review of updated plans and information. So initially we had attended this meeting to focus on almost like a working session meeting to discuss as a committee the things that the design team presented to us on Monday. We got cut off on Monday. So the design team was, I shouldn't say we got cut off. We had to end our meeting early due to a quorum issue. So the design team was kind enough to come to this meeting and give us a few minutes of their time so that we could round out that discussion. They did present they did issue a couple more things this afternoon that I forwarded on to the committee only about 15 minutes before the meeting. I apologize for that. I didn't see them until then. So I will turn it over to Tom and Ed and let you folks finish up the discussion we had last time or present some of the things that you gave us late in the day today. Let me make sure you can share your screen. Should be good now.
You want to go first, and then I'll do my 3 things after you.
Sure. I mean, I've been waiting for 3 days to talk about the toilet count, so killing me. So, let me do the screen share. I'm just so excited. I don't know what to do, just. So I just want to, we made an adjustments. We have, at the end of the meeting, we emailed the spreadsheets to the committee. And so I just want to, and then let me just explain how we come up with the plumbing count, and I'll make this quick. I mean, I'm just joking. I mean, it's not too many people are excited about this stuff. So we started with a building code analysis, and then determined the number of occupants based on the building code. So with that information, we really separated into 3 areas. One is the extended day programs. The rest are grouping of the meeting rooms, conference rooms, and all the town offices. And the third category is the gym, which we call a multi-purpose space. Based on the information, I'll just, and this is just more the process of where we come up with things that going through detailed numbers. So with that analysis, different use group have different occupancy loads. So based on the areas that we developed during schematic design, we calculated the number of occupants. And to make life simple at this time, we're saying is 50% male, about 50% female. So just in the section under simple counts, we started with the number of occupants and then subdivide the occupants into male, female, and based on the Massachusetts Plumbing Code, we figured out how many toilets, and sinks are the easy numbers. Toilets take more space. So our focus is really identifying how many toilets, male and female toilets and urinals there are. So quickly come down to the bottom. We, for the whole building for this project, we come up with, we need 30 toilets for females, 23 for male, and 16 urinals. So this is based on a straight calculation, mathematical calculation of number of occupants from the code. And if you look at the calculations for the meeting rooms, I mean, I can imagine fitting 65 or 70 people in the small meeting rooms, which is only about 1,000 square feet. But from the building code standpoint, this is what it tells us. Or for meeting room number 3, which is the bigger conference, the larger conference room, we're using the worst case scenario, which is 7 is actually, this should be standing room only. So 7 square feet. So it's going to be 322 people, which is really a lot. So if we're just using that, we come up with a lot of toilets. I mean, granted, I don't have any stocks in plumbing fixtures. I just, it's just a little crazy. So, and the next thing that we did is, based on what we showed in the floor plans during schematic design, we can come up with only about 21 female, 18 male, and 13 urinals. So this is not going to work. So the next step that we do is to do a quick layout of the conference rooms and the meeting rooms, and then I'm going to show you. We did some preliminary layouts, and we try to fit as many chairs and tables as reasonable and practical. So with that, we reduced the occupancy count, and then as a result, we reduced the number of toilet fixtures. And so at this point, we are plus or minus 1 fixture for each count. So so we can make that work. So now I'm going to switch to the floor plan, unless you have any questions about this chart. I mean, this is more showing how is our thought process to come to where we are proposing as far as the number of fixtures.
Why don't you keep going, Tom, and we'll
Okay.
do questions after you finish the section.
So let's start from the front of the building. So the large meeting room number one, we did a quick layout with chairs, assuming that there were discussions about a stage, but we need some sort of a front area. So we allocated 8 feet of just clearance space, and assuming there is some sort of a ledge or border between the platform or the stage, whatever, if it's permanent or portable, and we allow 5 feet between the first seat and the edge, and then allow 5 feet in the back. So we come up with about 112 seats with this layout, just jam seats, chairs next to each other. And then the next set of layouts is the 2 smaller conference rooms. We thought it's a reasonable layout to have tables in the middle and see how many chairs and fit as many chairs as comfortably possible. So we come up with 30 and 16 seats. And then the 2 meeting rooms, we had 2 separate layout. The first layout is, we thought, well, what if we have round tables? We can fit 4 round tables and then chairs in the back on both side walls, and we can get to 46 seats. Another layout, which is we're using pretty standard 6 feet by 2.5 feet standard portable tables, and then we got chairs again on both ends. So we come up with about 40. We probably can increase the number of seating. So this is just we just wanted to do some preliminary layout to see how many seats we can fit. And obviously we can use round tables here or change the configuration. And then the other conference room we have in the calculation is the town clerk or interim conference room. Again, we're using 1 long table with potential seats on 3 sides. So that's about 38 seats. With this arrangement, we are still using the same locations as what we have shown for the toilets. So in the past, we have shown 2 public toilets next to conference room, above conference room number 1. And then there were also 2 toilets which we designated as staff toilets on the left-hand side of conference room number 1. So the new things that we did the last couple of days was we created a series of unisex toilets, including a family toilet. Obviously, we can put the family toilet closer to this side, but I just want to show that we have the several group toilets and then some individual unisex toilets. And these are the unisex toilets are handicap accessible, and at in each of the group toilets, there's also a handicap accessible stall. And the last toilet that we have is for the students. So again, we didn't show doors and stuff. We just want to do a quick layout. So again, we got to have 6 on one side and 8 on the other, and there was also an additional toilet in the ACE room. So that's pretty much what we have done as a follow-up to a lingering question since the end of schematic design about the different toilet and locations and configuration and so forth.
Okay, maybe I'll just, if it's appropriate, Tom, maybe we'll just see if the committee has any questions. Is that okay? Is that all right, Tom, if I open it up for
Oh,
questions?
yeah, please, please.
Okay. So I'm just gonna poll the audience one at a time, if that's okay. Why don't we start with the top of my list here, Dave Passios, anything?
No, I'm good at this point. You know, there was some concern that we had too many toilets, but it turns out we needed a handful more. And this configuration looks pretty good. And I like the, you know, unisex toilet and the family toilet distribution. That's something we were missing before.
Okay. Brian,
Would agree with Mr. Passios. It's good to see the family toilet listed there. The only thought I had was in the staff toilets. I know currently the layout is very similar to that, where the sink is like kind of further way in there, and I didn't know if that is a potential to move, if that's a low cost move to, I don't know, have a typical sink kind of near the exit or near the middle. I found it weird that was always towards the furthest inside of the bathrooms.
Yeah, we haven't got to that level, so we haven't really placed the sinks yet. So we will.
Okay.
We
Thank you.
definitely we might have to move the door. I mean, the last thing we want to do is to have some people open the door and look at things they shouldn't.
let's study that a little bit more. Sure, I understand. Okay, Dave Blatt.
I'm all set, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I appreciate the analysis. I think there's in these kind of analysis, there's theoretical, there's what's required by code, and then there's reality. And I think it's going to be pretty low probability that we have all 5 conference rooms functioning at the maximum level with all the students in the building at the same time and all the staff in the building at the same time. And so I think the analysis of trying to get it down to a reasonable level, to the extent that you guys can do that by, you know, through the code and what's allowed by the regulations, I think is, in my opinion, a good one, because I think that in reality, you know, the max use of the building is not likely to be at the maximum combined occupancy of all uses. So.
Yeah, and the other thing I didn't mention was the gymnasium. Based on the calculations, you can fit 534 people, just standing room only, which I think is a little crazy. And the way that the plumbing code is categorized, if it's 1 toilet per 200 occupants. So a sign would be required to put in some of these rooms and say maximum occupancy is such and such, and so that legally there is some sort of a protection that you can even put it not more than 200 people in the multi-purpose room or the gymnasium, because then that will drive a certain number of counts. And for our purpose, doing schematic design, doing design development, put a number together, the key thing is to figure out how many fixtures we have, because each fixture has a certain cost association with it. So
Right.
So,
Yeah, looks good.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, on that note, can I ask, do we
Sure.
really want a urinal in the family toilet?
we'll take care of that.
All right.
Thank you.
I could.
And actually, we haven't really placed the urinals properly.
No, I understand. I'm just thinking about a little 5-year-old boy trying to reach that urinal, you know, just to prove he can.
I have some comments on that, Dave, but I'm gonna withhold.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, and this next one is just a quick follow-up to a conversation that we had a couple days ago, and we did some more research on the different, primarily the VCT of vinyl composition tile and luxury vinyl tile. So is general information. We talk about pros and cons, durability, general cost information, and general size, and then we have a couple of examples as far as the cost range. So we won't need to go over this tonight, but it's just if someone can't sleep tonight, that's a good piece of paper to read. So I'm going to move on to things that I think is a little bit more exciting, some of the design ideas. So I will look at the departmental entrance first. So I still remember in one of the either in our interviews or the first project kickoff meeting that it is important to have some sort of an identity or signage. So the department entry is really as a way to create a wayfinding for the public to come in. So what you see on the screen on the right-hand side are two interior elevations looking at the corridor. So just looking at, I'll enlarge it for the departmental entries. What we're thinking is we're going to use the existing openings as much as we can, the existing classroom corridor openings, and then we're going to put a standard 3-foot wide door with a glass, and then side lights, try to keep it as transparent as possible. And in front of the wall, we're going to put these wall panels, which is a couple of inches thick, and it can have the look of wood, but it's really not wood panels, so that we just want to highlight the entry and to create some sort of a portal look. And on one side, we're saying that we're proposing some sort of a wall sconce more as a decorative element. And we also have opportunities to either put a signage above the door or signage on the other side of the door to say this is the town manager's office or the assessor's office. Along both sides of this door or along possibly the entire duration of the corridor, we can put some sort of a railing at the 3-foot height and then at the door height, and put fabric wrap board so that if there's any notices or something that can be pinned to it, just to create an opportunity for display. And other elevations, just want to show quickly, is there are some instances that there would be a transaction window next to the departmental entry. So last time we talked about some sort of a glass or panel with openings above and below. This is more for protection for the staff during current COVID or post-COVID days. And again, it's possible we can put signage above, and because of ADA, the transaction counters are typically at 3 feet, but then we have a lower counter for wheelchair, which is at 30 inches or 2'6". The image on this 3D image is a view of that typical departmental entry. The other thing we're thinking is to have some sort of an accent floor just to highlight there's something coming up in the hallway, because it's a pretty long corridor going down to visit different town offices. So, any comments?
Yeah, you want it? Let's do it. Same order. Dave Passios.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking about this, we had discussed that there had been some desire from some departments to have sliding glass versus stationary glass. And I think pretty much we as a committee said we felt it should be stationary. Have you got any additional feedback on that from any departments, or have you not had time to pursue that yet?
We haven't pursued that yet. We had two 2 meetings since Monday, and the Matt Morrow and Karen Prochu, they don't have a need for sliding windows, so I just need to get back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, is that all?
Yep, I'm all set. The only other thing that I'm not real sure about is if signage is above the doors, is that going to be at all problematic with persons with disabilities to look that high? Although when you showed the slide with the measurements, or when you blow this one up, the bottom one up, it's not really that high, but I think it's like 7 feet off the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, typically the ceiling, the corridor ceilings are 9 feet, and the door says 7.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That was the only thing that came to mind, but I don't think it'll be a huge issue.
And the other option is we can put it on the side.
Right.
And from the cost standpoint, it's not making any significant difference.
Mm-hmm. I'm good.
Okay, Brian.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Dave.
It looks good. The only thing I would think of is we have the wall sconce to the left of the door. I'm wondering if that might make more sense being a sign telling you what the department is. Because we talked about that, so you can look down the corridor and kind of see this and kind of get a feel for each department. It's just a thought.
Oh, you mean like sticking out, Dave? Like protruding?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh.
So this way they don't have to worry about, as Dave mentioned, about the handicap, but it might be just a way so that if I walked into the corridor, I can quickly assess everything.
Yeah, or maybe that one could be over the door, protruding out, or next to it or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess otherwise 6'8" is that magic number from the floor to the bottom of the fixture. Yeah. So there's a certain limitation how much you can stick out. So
right,
we can extend that out a little bit if it is above the door.
Okay.
That's a great point though, Dave. Anything else, Dave?
That was it. Other than that, it looks fine to me.
Yeah, I think I really like it. I think that I think it's important to make a little bit of an entrance to all those different departments, and the suggestions you have with the paneling and the accent flooring seem good. I'd also be in support of, like Dave Passios, with the sign next to the door versus over it. And then, but I also, Dave Blatt's comments are very good. It is nice to be able to see where you're kind of like a street sign almost, not that it has to have that look and feel, but so you can see it as you're walking down the hallway. I think I like the transaction counter. I think that's I think that'll have a good look and feel. I like it.
Yeah, actually, there's another, I would say, a valued engineer option, and that is instead of using these panels, which you have seen, what we call the new building developments that you've seen, residential developments, they're starting to use these panels. So it's somewhat similar products, and so it's pretty cost effective. But another way to achieve the same look is we could have another, instead of having these panels, we can have another layer of drywall with metal trim, and to still create the same effect and with a different color of paint. And so that will drive the cost down. And one of the things that we would do as part of the due diligence is to have a menu of choices. So if the overall budget for the project is high, we might just decide before we even go to a town meeting and say, well, we're going to, as much as I like to use the hardy panels, but we just want to be responsible and be prudent when it comes to the budget. So we are taking the same concept to the outside, which is creating panels and identifying
One
using-
second, Tom, 1 second. I see Dave has his hand up. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it was just a little bit triggered by what just Tom just said about different colors possibly. One of the things that I think is going to be very advantageous is as the public enters the corridor headed towards the town offices from the main entrance, we're going to want something posted there, and I don't know where it goes, but a key that gives them a heads up on, number one, they are headed in the right direction for town offices. Number two, gives them an overview of what department is where in that hallway, kind of a roadmap. And if we can color code down the corridor and color code on the roadmap, I think that's a great visual. I'm not sure that that ties into, you know, the fixtures and everything going down the hallway, but if there's a way to coordinate the color scheme for each department in the wall coverings and stuff as you go down the hallway, then we can document that as a map at the entrance to that hallway. So people, first thing they look for is a color difference, and then a sign that says, oh yeah, this is the department I'm looking for.
Yeah, one
Just-
thing we can do is, for example, if you have the map or a floor diagram, and each department has a different color, and that's not too many departments, so we might be talking about 8 or 9 different color groupings. And what we can do is to have like the accent flooring that it may not be primary colors, but we can when it comes to that point, we can have muted colors or something that work together. So it may not be a bright green, but maybe it's a greenish tone for one department. So there, folks can see that. Or another possibility would be maybe those, if we're not using these panel systems and use drywall, maybe the portals would be a different color. So, and the good thing is from at this level, it's not going to change the cost of the project. I mean, it's still a color of paint is still paint, or it's still the same amount of flooring, accent flooring. So,
Yep.
Great, thank you.
so again, trying to carry the same theme to the outside, which is again, wall sconces, using signage as an architectural element, and using panelization to signify an entrance. So what we see here as some opportunities, the main entrance, we thought, again, we can use some wall sconces and it would be similar wall sconces between the inside and the outside, so that there's a continuity between the exterior and the interior. And we might use, if we're using the panels that we talked about, we might highlight this and have put the name of the building down. Looking at some other entries, this is the image on the lower left, is the entrance coming in by the, this is by the current cafeteria area. So we can use the same paneling system wrapped around the above the door and bring it down, and then again use the wall sconce to create a continuity, and possibly putting signage above the door. This entrance is next to the main entrance. This is a staff entrance. That's an existing roof parapet. What we can do is bring a panel system down from the edge of this roof to the existing glass, and again use a wall sconce as an element that repeats itself. Last but not least, there's another entrance in the back. This is where the extended day program will go. Again, we can use that panel system above the existing window, and a couple of wall sconces, one on each side of the door, try to create some cohesiveness and to tie the whole building, both the inside and the outside together. So.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, just a quick question there. There's an entryway at the far end of the town offices hallways where the school department is going to be. Would that be similar to the extended day entrance?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
Anybody else on that? Brian? Okay.
And
Dave?
just a quick one on that. Is there much cost difference between a solid door and a door with like half a window?
I don't know the difference, but I can get that information.
I just, you know how it is you hate coming to a door when you can't tell who's on the other side of it, or just and things like that, especially if they're going to be locking doors or opening up into somebody's face or something like that.
Yes, and that's something that we will look into. I mean, it's
Okay.
especially for these egress doors, we should have at least have a sliver of glass.
Yeah.
And the other question is the side entrance staff. Is that where we're talking about the school department, or is this like part of that front lobby area side entrance staff?
It's part of the front lobby.
Do we really need a separate entrance for staff then there? I would look as the way we put the parking, I would want them to be showing up near the school department if they were coming in as staff.
Let me get the plan. Yeah,
I think
so
we're gonna, go ahead, Tom.
there. Okay.
That's an existing entrance already. They're just dressing it up.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good to me. I'm all about a cohesive look as long as we're, I guess my only comment is as long as we're really keeping track of the bottom line. It doesn't
Right.
look like you're proposing anything that's too exotic to me. So I, generally looks good to me.
Well, guys, can I ask a question then? Do we need that side entrance staff? I know it's an existing door, but do we need it? If we can go back to the plan. I just look at it as it's based on how we have parking, based on how we are lying this thing out, I would look at that as kind of redundant. And obviously the doors and all that stuff is a huge expense because they have to be the safety doors, double doors, blah, 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 and all that stuff. So I'd like to look at that as a separate, if we could look later on as a separate item and then decide.
The only question I would have is required egress,
Right, but you have the,
if it's needed.
right, if you have the front lobby anyhow, so, and then, okay.
and if it is just required for egress, we can keep the thing it is and not add the wall sconce. We don't need to highlight that because if it is a secondary or tertiary door, it's not a public door per se, unlike the main entrance and also unlike the this door. Where
I guess the only question I have is there going to be enough staff parking on that far end of the west wing for everybody to be parking out in the back corner there? I had in the back of my mind that we were going to have staff coming from that side of the building when they arrive in the morning.
All right, like I said, guys, as long as it's, I think it's something we can decide, but I just wanted to quickly mention, so I'm
Yep.
fine.
Okay. We can pick it up later, Dave.
Yep,
Yep.
I agree.
Okay.
so
You, Tom.
that's all I have, and I'm going to hand it over to Ed. Ed, do you want me to show the property line sketch first?
Actually, Tom, can I ask one other question? And I'm sure you guys went over it Monday. Is there a big difference in cost between acoustic tiles and drywall? On the ceiling tiles, the acoustic ceiling tiles?
Yes and no, because there are so many different level of acoustical tiles, and I think that drywall doesn't absorb as much sound. And since we've been talking about hard floor, especially in the corridor, from the acoustical standpoint, that's the difference. But cost-wise, again, I'll get you the information.
Okay, I just, especially like when you're looking at towards the kids' wings and things like that, acoustical tiles don't look good very quickly, you know? It's easier to
You
paint the
mean
ceiling.
in the extent in the room or in the hallways?
In the rooms and things like that.
Yeah, there's so many different levels of acoustical tiles that some look and last a lot longer. But I'll get that information.
Okay, no
Yeah.
problem. Thank you.
And this, the sound absorption issue needs to be looked at too. Because we typically will run the petitions all the way up to the bottom of the roof deck to dampen any sound transmission that may get above the ceiling, so it's not going from one room to the next.
Right. Okay. All right, guys, that was it for me. Okay. I'll let Ed take the stage since he's already wanting to.
So one of the questions the committee had on Monday was, is it possible to subdivide the TCP property to have its own property lines? And our civil engineer Meridian looked at that and provided the sketch. And the quick answer is yes. Adding property lines is not a problem. What the issues are that need to be considered is that right now between the middle school, the high school, the building near Mass Ave and the TCP building, it's all owned by the town. To subdivide that, it would involve getting the town's legal side involved, because it would mean creating easements through the property for utilities, drainage, roadways, and determining who would own each piece of property. So there's a fair amount of legal work that would need to be done to subdivide the property and give it its own property lines. But the answer is yes, you could do that.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I don't know if there was any other questions on that. That was the question that came up Monday. We just wanted to provide an answer to that.
Yeah, Greg, I've got one quick one.
Go ahead.
And I know this isn't set in stone, this is just potential. But I'm thinking that the line that separates off the Brooks house, that's got to be a non-conforming lot, and you can't create a non-conforming lot, can you?
You can.
Even if it's the town?
No, I think you can. You can do that. You can put a property line between two structures that exist prior to a certain date. I'd have to look that up.
Okay.
It's an 81 R, section 81R or something like that.
Yep.
That may be what they're doing there, Dave.
Okay.
So
Now, I'm assuming that, again, I've looked at so many town meeting articles in the last 2 weeks from multiple years, but the article that turned the Passio School back to the Board of Selectmen or back to the town, however you want to put it, mentioned a portion of the overall school property being conveyed with the building also. So I'm guessing either Meridian hasn't approached the town to see if there was actually a drawing or a plan as to what portion was to be transferred. I mean, usually when you have an article that says a portion of, it's documented somewhere. It's not documented in the article at town meeting, but I've never been able to put my hands on a document that actually shows a lot already existing for this property.
Yeah, when Meridian did the land survey, they identified all the property owners that are surrounding this whole parcel, and the 12 acres they surveyed it's just listed as owned by the town of Lunenburg. It wasn't differentiated any other way. So all the land, the boundaries of that survey that we've provided, it's all the town property. So they didn't come up with any other subdivision within that.
Yeah, and I think there was a line, Dave. But it was a line and it was a line drawn in, in pencil, not in ink, if you know what I mean, like it
Yeah, I get it.
wasn't.
Because the one line I remember was 8 or 9 feet off the foundation of the, was that the east wing or the north wing, off of that gravel parking lot where they
Yes,
put the fence.
yes, that's what it was. And truthfully, I think we did it. We may have done it for town meeting, but we did it. We definitely drew a line when we were working on the middle high school project. Did that, we drew a line in that case for the MSBA to be able to define where the project limits were. But I think that might have been used in part in the conveyance article you're talking about. The gaps the gaps that occur every time we talk about this are sufficient enough for my memory to lapse every single time we talk about this. But
Oh, yeah.
I've seen sketches of that. I'll try to dig those up for you, Dave.
That's fine. I mean, nothing was ever formalized or recorded, so it's a moot point, really.
Yeah, no, and yeah, and
Okay.
this is going to be a lot of work. And your point, Ed, about the easements are valid only to the extent that one of the parcels is going to be conveyed to a different entity.
Mhm.
If they all continue to be, if all 3 of these parcels at the end, and we create the lots and we continue to own them by the town of Lunenburg, the same entity, then the easements don't make much sense until such time as you convey them.
Right, and that's why Meridian was saying additional
Yeah.
research is needed in case it is conveyed to a different
Yeah,
entity,
right.
not the town. Yeah.
So it is going to be a decent amount of work. So, it's something that, but this is a great, I think this level has been done. So to my knowledge, so this is a good, this helps the discussion.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that, Ed. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Brian or Dave Blatt?
I'm all set, thanks.
The only
Okay.
thing I would mention was, is this something that we'd want to give to the select board so they can move forward with something like this? Is this something out of our purview?
Yeah, I still scratch my head, to be quite honest with you, I still scratch my head on exactly why we'd want to do this, because unless you're looking to convey it, I guess I could see the Brooks house, but unless you're looking to convey something, just creating a line in the sand that divides the limit between ownership. This is a lot of work to do to just be able to say, this is what someone's taking care of and this is what the other entity's taking care of. I don't know.
And I just don't want it to add a cost to the project where this is something the select board could take care of because they want
Yeah.
to separate the property.
Yeah. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I'm not there yet, but, I think that Heather's on the call, so, and she has this email now, so I can try to circle back with her and see if there's another action item we need to investigate as part of this, so.
Okay, so we'll move on to the sidewalk discussion.
Right.
Yeah, before this, can I interject in this a little bit? We had a discussion on Monday regarding where the limit, and I think that's what you're going to talk about, where the limit of work should be delineated. And our answer was generally, let's try and limit the work to only what's required to make the project, compliant and to provide the required access from the new features from the site to the new building. And let's not let's not try and add things that are, you know, that are not specifically related to that. As I thought about that a little bit more, I thought, you know what, I better poll the audience on that. So I sent an email to both Heather and our DPW director on that. And our DPW director, you know, particularly when it relates to paving and things, he actually thought that it might make sense to include the pavement in the project. Like, you know, for example, the through road from Mass Ave all the way through to Oak Ave is new pavement. So, you know, it might make sense to pave, if we're going to be paving certain portions of the parking that we're going to be adding parking on, it might make sense to pave that loop or the triangle, as we say, so called. Because in his view, or one of his comments was, you know, you'd hate to do this whole project, not pave it, and then come back to the town in 3 or 4 years after you get the CO on the building and ask for money to pave something, when everybody's just going to ask, well, why the heck didn't you just do it with the project?
Right, right.
So I guess I see that opinion. So I think that I just offer that as a little bit of a follow-up from what we said on Monday, that I did look into that in a little bit more
Okay.
detail.
Well, that makes sense. So we can then, based on that, we can start with our cost estimating, starting at Mass Ave, go all the way up the driveway to Oak, and then take care of the triangular roads right around this parking that's Tom's showing right now on the screen.
Well, yeah, to be clear, so that's all done. So the through road is new pavement.
Okay,
So you probably don't have to do that, but where the two legs of the triangle, so to speak, where they tie into that,
yeah,
you know, it might make sense, particularly because we're going to be adding pavement there anyway.
right.
Might make sense to just, maybe we can just overlay it, set it up so we can just overlay those two legs of the triangle, and then we'll have, one pavement then relatively, within. So I don't know if any other members have any other comments on that, and we can let Ed talk and then we can discuss it, I guess. Maybe I just wanted to give you that input, Ed, before you started. So
No, that's very helpful. Thank you, Greg. And we appreciate getting the grant information too for the sidewalks that's being done. That work doesn't quite reach where we are here. So this again is from Meridian. This is showing, based on their field observations, the sidewalks around the building and in front of the building that they would recommend being completely replaced, removed and replaced, which are the blue. And then the reddish orange colored shaded sidewalks are going to be removed and not replaced. So based on the new design of the west wing, we're eliminating all of those back doors. So there's no need to keep all those sidewalks. We're recommending removing those now unnecessary sidewalks. And then the green that you see there is all brand new sidewalks and ramps getting from the parking areas into the building. So they're proposing all of this work will be built into our final report and the cost estimate. And then we can add in what you had just mentioned, the paving out front, the two legs around the triangle, any associated paving with the front parking, and all the new paving for the parking that wraps around the west and north side of the building.
okay. Again, I'll open it up for questions, comments. I'll go the other way this time. Dave Blatt.
No, looks good to me. I like the idea of getting rid of all those sidewalks around the building.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I had one question. The green pad in the kids' wing, that green pad, what is that for? Is there an entrance there? Or is that just to get to the existing sidewalk?
I think Tom, is there a door back there on the north wing?
There are some is for egress, those doors, because we need two-way, so.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, perfect. Just, that was the quick question. I kind of thought that.
Okay. Brian,
I'm all set. I agree.
okay. Dave Passios, anything? Dave might have stepped away. I had a couple, or at least one thing, on the, I'll just call it the northerly.
Sorry about that, Greg. I shut everything off while I stepped away for a second, but I was
Oh,
listening.
that's okay. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to this, Dave?
Yeah, if I may, I just to clear in my head, the existing walkways along the backside of the educational corridor across the end, and the inner L where PAC is, and the other side of the corridor for education, those are just basically going to be left in the condition they're in, or are we going to touch those up?
I'm gonna double check with Meridian on that. I noticed the same thing right before I forwarded these tonight. They didn't comment on it. My first impression, they looked at it and things looked good to them, so they didn't put it on the plan, but I will double check with them.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since I looked at them, so I have no idea what condition they're in. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I had a couple of things. So on the, where the green ends at the top, right over there, it seems like it might make sense to show a connection to, down to the, keep going down to the main through road, no, the other way, down towards the middle high school.
Going up.
East
And
to
just
connect to the road.
Yeah.
Because there's a sidewalk on the other side of that road.
Mhm.
I don't know. If that means we have to spend an extra $10,000 in handicap ramps, not necessary, then maybe it's not a good idea. But now that I'm thinking about it, if we did that, we'd have to put a handicap ramp on both sides. We have to redo.
You would, yeah.
Other
You'd have to put a
side.
curb cut on each side.
Yeah.
The ramp.
So
yeah.
maybe I talked myself out of that. Okay. And then, this, if you could pan down to the front where Meridian's suggesting to remove and replace the sidewalk. This gives more credence to redoing that, or at least overlaying that road. If
Mhm.
you do that whole sidewalk, and we're gonna have brand new curbing, and we're gonna have brand new
Right.
walk there, and then we just match it up. First of all, you'd have to saw cut the pavement, put the new,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
patch in some new pavement. I mean, it's just gonna look cool. So this definitely gives credence to at least overlaying that road, to make it look, it'll look new then.
Mr. Chair, based on your comment about the sidewalk to the, whatever that is, the north side or whatever, where you just were talking about towards the high school,
Yeah,
maybe we should have that corner, that far corner, at least connect to the sidewalk that would be towards the front, towards the door. So this
Yeah.
way, if you were picking up or dropping off, you didn't walk across the grass, you
Yeah.
walk quickly across there. Do you understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying, guys?
yeah, I do. That probably does make sense.
Mhm.
And truthfully, I think we should maybe talk about the connection to the high school, because people park there for big middle high school events, parent teacher nights. People are gonna park there and be walking to the high school. It might make sense to do that. I don't know. It would mean popping some granite on the other side of the street where the existing sidewalk is and putting in a handicap ramp. So it's something to think about. It would definitely improve the circulation pattern through the whole site.
I agree.
Yeah, we'll have Meridian add that.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's one of those
Yeah.
things, if we have project budget issues, we could probably VE it out.
Mhm. Okay, great comments.
I think that was it for me. I guess I'll say out loud that I agree. I think that replacing the sidewalk through the, I did have one of the, but replacing the sidewalk in front of the building is, I just think that'll give it that sidewalk's pretty rough. I kind of,
It is, yeah.
yeah, and I think it'll give it a nice, clean, fresh look. And then the only other question I had was the new parking that we're proposing adjacent to the, yeah, right there. That's set pretty far off the building. I wonder if, I mean, I know there's some nice trees there, but I wonder if, this is in the front or in the front portion, the angled parking in the, on the southerly side of that wing, right in there. I wondered if it made sense to shift that parking, sort of put the sidewalk where the existing one is and shift the parking closer, but I know there are some pretty nice trees there, so. I don't know, just a comment. I think.
I thought in our previous discussion, those trees were staying.
Say that
They're
again.
still on the plan. Those trees along that wing, they're still on the plan there, aren't they? Or am I
Yeah,
seeing-
so that's my point, that I guess if you did what I'm saying, you'd probably have to take those trees down, which may not be advantageous. But be that as it may, I think that you're gonna find that working on that slope, the Meridian is gonna find working on that slope, to get that parking in the location that they're showing it is gonna be problematic. That's probably something that we can determine as they go through that detailed process, so.
I wondered too whether it makes sense to just take out those first 5 parking spots and then you're not digging so much into that hill.
Yeah, or the last 5. or
The last 5 is where you got the biggest elevation change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right on that corner where you're making that, it's really, yeah, right in the corner there, yeah.
And just cut the corner sharper.
Yeah, or, well, less sharp, actually,
Yeah,
bigger radius,
yes, yes.
yeah. But they'll figure that out, I'm sure. That's just a comment, so.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, great, thank you. The last item I just wanted to update the committee on was the traffic study, the results of the traffic study. As you may know, the traffic study looked at 5 intersections around the TCP building as well as the parking. And our traffic engineers worked in conjunction with Meridian on the parking analysis as well. But the 5 intersections we looked at were Mass Ave and Lancaster Ave, which is a signalized intersection, Mass Ave and the main driveway coming up by the Passios building and the middle school, the Memorial Drive and the school driveway intersection, and then there's a driveway on the east side off of Mass Ave, as well as the Oak Ave and the school driveway. So those 5 intersections were looked at not only from a traffic count standpoint, but also from existing conditions, ADA. So the report found that the sidewalks around where there are sidewalks are in poor condition and should be replaced, and many of them are not ADA compliant. Some of the intersections have problems where there's no sidewalks, and the stop signs and signage are not in the right location. So the recommendations are to improve these intersections by replacing sidewalks, making them ADA accessible, dealing with some of the signage to put them in better spots, to control traffic, and to add some sidewalks to make it safer for the public to walk adjacent to the roads to get into the property. And I won't go into every detail in the report, but those are some bites on existing conditions. So the actual traffic count piece of it, we looked at a couple scenarios. We looked at a no-build scenario with nothing being done and the TCP building being used as it is currently today. We looked at two different years. We went out 2 years to 2022, and then we went out 10 years looking at population growth. We worked with the Regional Planning Commission in your area, and they predict a 2% population growth each year. So we use those in our calculations. We also use the build scenario based on the current design drawings and occupancies that we've been looking at. So under all the scenarios, the no build scenario and the build scenario, both for 2022 and 10 years out, 2023, all of the intersections are capable of handling the traffic. There's no big difference in traffic being generated by the new use of the TCP building. One of the things we would recommend in year 2032 is the signalized intersection where Mass Ave and Lancaster is located. That's the only signalized intersection. We'd recommend that the signals be optimized in 2032 because of the growth. That intersection will see some more traffic, some extended queue times, and that can be alleviated by adjusting the signal timing. So all in all, the work that we're doing and the new use of the building isn't going to be causing a problem for traffic. The current issues that occur along the main roadway between the TCP building and the middle high school with the parents queuing up and dropping off and picking up, that's a short-term duration, but what we would recommend is some signage. We've done this on some other projects where this has occurred. Some signage instructing the parents where to park, where not to park. And also it's helpful if school personnel can be out on the sidewalk to keep the parents moving so they're not sitting there too long, load or offload the students and then move on so that there's not a big backup. That's a way to mitigate that with the signage and some staff to help during those time periods of pick up and drop off. As far as the overall parking, with the new parking designs that we've been looking at, we've looked at both the town zoning requirements, the head counts of the new occupancy in the TCP building, and there's plenty of parking. There's more than adequate parking to meet the needs of the uses, the future uses, and it meets the town zoning requirements for parking. So that I wanted to relay that as well. So those are the highlights of the traffic study and the parking analysis. I don't know if there's any particular questions. There's a lot of data in that report, a lot of tables and level of service and a lot of number crunching that's in there.
Yeah, and that's similar to what Tom said earlier. If you want to put yourself to sleep at night, go ahead and print off the traffic study and read through it.
Yeah.
People say the same thing with my drainage calculations. Dave Passios, any questions?
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. That's, as I had mentioned Monday night, that's what made me late into the meeting because I started to look into that email and those documents, and I
You're
just
the one.
buried in it.
Yeah. Okay. Dave Blatt, anything?
Just a quick question on the traffic. Is the west entrance going to be, is the idea to be a one-way around the triangle? And then my question would be, would the west entrance become a one-way? So if I go to the site plan, and if you look at page 1 of the site plan, it's probably the easiest way to do it.
I can share my screen.
Yeah, I got it. Hold on, bear with me. Here we go. All right. There you go. Does that make sense? You see it?
Yep, just dialing in. Okay, yep, we got it now. Yep.
All right. So the idea would be, is this the plan for everybody to come in through the Mass Ave entrance? Or is this west entrance going to be a two-way? And the concern there is, you're coming in and making this turn as people are coming around the circle.
That's a great question. Ed, was there any recommendations relative to that in the traffic study?
When we did the traffic counts, the gate was closed on that road.
Yeah.
So our presumption was it was going to stay closed.
Yeah.
That's why they're showing the way the parking is. It's one-way circulation, the way they have the parking laid out.
Right. So yeah, because that's the assumption. The triangle's going to be a one-way, and
Yeah.
we just talked about pavement down that section there from the DPW. Is that what the DPW director was talking about?
Yes. Well,
So,
maybe not necessarily that section, but but definitely the two triangle legs.
Mhm.
Okay, all right,
Like I could see cutting it off right where your cursor is now, Dave. Yeah,
okay. All right.
maybe, you know,
Yeah, so I just want to prevent vehicles from coming down here or anything like that because I'm worried about this intersection right here. However, it would make it so that we could eliminate a lot of the traffic to Mass Ave if people came from the high school or came from here and went out that way.
yeah, that's interesting. You know, Ed, is that possible to get an opinion from the traffic consultant on that issue?
If you open the gate up,
Yeah,
I can ask him that.
I'm interested to see what he thinks sorry to interject here, Dave, but
No,
I'm interested to see what he thinks that might do to any overburdening of the one-way right in front of the building.
Mhm.
Thinks that opening that up might create more traffic. People cutting through, like Dave just said, people cutting through across the front of the building and then out Memorial Drive.
Mhm.
We may not want that to be the case.
And what's the traffic flow going to be on the outside of that triangle, on the library side?
It'll be
Out back to the driveway?
yeah, back to the driveway.
Left or go straight.
That's the way it is now, Dave.
Okay, I'm just not seeing any arrows on this particular plan, but
Yeah,
oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can
I-
see the way they have the angled parking. You know, that would be indicative.
oh yeah, that's the traffic flow. Okay,
Yeah.
yep, got it.
And
the-
so, but it is an interesting question, you know, you want to give someone an opportunity. Someone's coming across the front of the building towards Memorial Drive and get to the intersection there where the new parking is going to go to the north. We're actually giving them another option there. So having to go back and circle through back down to Mass Ave, they'll now be able to circle up and around the north side of the building. Do you now want to give them a third option of going straight out to Memorial Drive? I guess that's my question. What the traffic consultant thinks of that.
right. And then
My-
I would,
my-
if we did that, I would try to make these more of a one way, these more one ways.
Yeah,
These two roads here, so you can only come out there and go straight towards Memorial Drive, towards the senior center
yeah.
and and you
Or-
couldn't go left.
Or only come in, Dave. Maybe we want it to be one way into the facility.
Well, then I'm worried about this intersection right here.
I see what you're saying.
I got somebody coming in, I got somebody turning. I mean, maybe I'm
Yep.
overthinking it, but
I wondered
are-
if there should be stop signs at that crosswalk going from both directions. So people are stopping at the crosswalk and that they're allowing people to turn.
Yeah, it'd just be interesting to get their opinion on that, Ed.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
sure,
ask.
I'm sure the traffic engineers will consider it, but I'm a little concerned if we shuffle that around too much that we have some unintended consequences further up towards the senior center on either heavier traffic going out or
Yeah,
whatever. I compare this to the street I live on here in the center of town and see if we give that option. The driveway across the front of the building is going to be like Whiting Street, avoiding the center of town.
and that's what I wonder. So I guess it would be great to see if that's what the traffic consultant thinks. If he thinks it would be a detriment or if he thinks it would be a benefit. It'd just be just another data point.
Yeah,
My sense is that I agree with Dave. I think that it probably will. It definitely could create more headaches.
I don't know if
And
that's why
offsite.
I don't know if that's why the gate's always closed too. I don't know if we can get any information from the DPW or the town of why the gate is constantly closed. Maybe they have a reason for that.
When it was used for school use, it was obviously closed because, they did recess on that section of the driveway.
Yeah.
And I have seen it open a few times, including the other night, Sunday night, it was open when I walked down through there to see the Christmas lights.
Greg, we're also coming up on 647 too.
Yeah, I see that. So there's a chance we might end abruptly here. There's another meeting that is using the same account evidently. It's starting at 7. that Neil was not certain how that was going to interact, so. Well, we can keep going as long as we're able. Okay, so, I guess, was that the bulk of what you had for us tonight, Tom and Ed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So my thought, and I guess we'll see in 2 minutes whether or not we run out of time. My thought was to have a session with just the committee, just to kind of rehash some of these things, but I guess what does the committee think? Do we need this, or I guess maybe for Tom and Ed, another follow-up question. I mean, do you feel like you have enough guidance from the committee to start putting together your cost estimates so we can review them? Or do you feel like you need more input from the committee?
I will speak on the architecture side. I think we have enough, and as we are putting that together, I'm sure there'll be more questions, but it's not something that will slow the process down. So, and we have already started that process. So when we meet again, if there's any questions or clarifications, we can discuss then.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think
Okay,
we've got enough information after our discussions tonight about the civil site work to keep going with that.
okay. Okay.
We have another meeting tentatively scheduled yet, Greg? I can't remember if we
We
do. or
don't, we
not.
need to try and do that.
Yeah, if we can do that before we get cut off, otherwise we're gonna have to do
Yeah.
it by email.
So what are people, I think, we're, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but we were thinking about the first or second week in January.
Yeah,
So, we've got the 4th through the 8th. Or the 11th through the 15th. So, and I think we want to try to do 2 meetings in January. Is that correct?
yeah. The first one will be clarifying, finalizing what we're
Yep.
what are sending or we have sent to the cost estimator, and the second meeting would be a draft of the budget. And as I've told a lot of the town folks we talked to, I've never met a client who likes the budget. It's either too high or too low. So I know nobody's going to be happy. And so we'll need another discussion after that, at least.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let me just go and poll the audience again, like we have done in the past, for the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Dave Blatt, which of those nights are you available?
I'm actually away that week, so
Okay.
being that it's a Zoom, I'll do it, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. So any one of those is no worse or better than the other.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm just going to say you can do either one. Dave Passios,
Are you talking 4th, 5th, and 6th, or 4th and 5th?
4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Which of those dates would work for you?
4th and 6th.
4th and 6th. Brian.
They all work. I just have to leave at 7 on the 6th.
Okay, so best is the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Okay. So planning board, I think, is 2nd and 4th. So I mean, I'm just guessing. So theoretically speaking, Monday would probably be the best for Matt, but I know for a fact that I don't think it's good for Michael Ray.
Right, I was thinking that when we said that.
It's just so awful.
I think we ought to go on Fridays. Nobody's got meetings on Fridays.
6 a.m. then, guys, not 6 p.m. then.
I mean, we could if people want. I mean, do people want to do that?
Nah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because I still have the same cutoff. I'm gonna have a cutoff at 7:30 then instead, if I do 6 a.m.
Oh, I meant Friday at night. I meant Friday evening.
Yeah, no, I can't do that.
Okay.
I'm not home for my family enough, so I need to.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Yeah. Okay. So do we want to shoot for Well, let me just make sure that I don't have any. I don't think I have anything. So what do we want to shoot for? Do we want to shoot for the sixth? Let's see.
Actually, it just occurred to us that we have a lot of people taking the week between Christmas and
Okay.
New Year off. So I just wonder if it's
You wanna
sorry.
do try the next week?
Yeah, would that be easier for everybody?
Well, let's try it. So, so that would be sorry.
11th, 12th.
11, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, 11th, 12th, 13th, and
I'm
14th.
available.
Dave Blatt, which one?
Only possibility would be the Wednesday right now, and that would mean I would leave at 7.
Okay,
But you know, I have not gotten a meeting notice yet from.
okay. Passios.
Monday's out, so 12th, 13th, Thursday is out, Finance Committee.
Okay. Yeah, and Finance Committee, it's not something you want to miss at this time of year.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
trying to fill in my calendar on finance because we've got the full schedule through the budget season already.
okay. So Brian, what do you got?
I'm available.
What's that?
I'm available. I'm good.
The whole week?
Available.
Okay. So that night, it's looking like the 13th that week.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, January 13th, 5:30. And then do we want to put something on for later in the month?
So why don't you put the 27th also? So you can do the 2 zoning board days. And if I have to leave at 7, I leave at 7. But you know,
Okay.
those are, we're like on call. We're not like, you know, it's not a definite meeting.
Okay, does that sound good for everybody?
Works for me.
Okay,
That was
All
the
right.
27th.
Yes.
13th and the 27th.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's okay for me. Yep. Okay. So what does the committee think? Do we have any discussions we want to do before we move on from this agenda item, or I'm up for suggestions? Or do we think we've given them enough guidance to get them, I mean, they've said they have enough guidance, but does anybody else have any, I guess, let me phrase it this way. Does anybody else have anything that they feel like we need to talk through as a committee?